Hey there, nerds and nerdettes, it's Rick here, and after another oh-so-shocking Cleveland Indians loss yesterday, I'm feeling a little down in the dumps. So I wanted to open the floor to a little nerd discussion and lift my spirits up a little bit. So what's the topic of conversation? The Suicide Squad movie. So a few weeks back, David Ayer, director of the Suicide Squad movie, released the very first pictures of Jared Leto as the Joker. Now, the image was pretty polarizing. People either hated it or they loved it. There really was no in-between. I am one of the latter camp. For one, Jared Leto is an excellent actor. I don't think anybody's arguing that. The man is an Oscar winner. But also, I'm a fan of change. I can't reject something simply because it's not something that I instantly recognize or something that I know. You have to embrace change, folks. Change isn't always necessarily a bad thing. Now, I've seen a lot of people say that, oh, they needed to go with a traditional Joker. What traditional Joker? You mean this traditional Joker? So I personally like it. I like it, it's scary, it's somebody that I wouldn't want to come across. I'm a fan. I've also seen a lot of people say that they think that this is all one giant joke from Warner Brothers, that this isn't really what he's going to look like. I can assure you folks, it's legit. That is what he's going to look like. All the other stuff, all the other rumors, that's a bunch of malarkey. That is what the Joker is going to look like. Then this past Friday night, David Ayer tweeted again, this time, get ready, ellipses, hashtag Suicide Squad. My little nerd wood began a-poppin'. In fact, I knew something was a-comin'. And no, not me, you perverts. And sure enough, Sunday night, we were treated to a shot of the entire roster of the Suicide Squad, who, from left to right, Slipknot, Boomerang, Enchantress, Rick Flag, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Killer Croc, El Diablo, and Katana down there in the front. Or Katana, depending on where you're from. And once again, I was ecstatic. First of all, I never thought in a million years that I would see Killer Croc, my favorite Batman villain, in celluloid. But there he is, by God. And Harley Quinn is played by the perfectly adorable Margot Robbie. And I'm loving what I'm seeing. And then that was followed up by a single shot of Will Smith in his full Deadshot regalia, mask and all. Perfection. This movie is quickly overtaking Batman v Superman as my most anticipated DC movie. Shh, shh, shh. It doesn't change how I feel about you. Now this does beg the question as to who's going to make the toys? I mean, look at that. You know there will be action figures. It also opens us up to a bigger, broader question that I'll get to in a moment. Now, one would have to surmise that the license would go to Mattel. They do have the master license to all things DC. And the way it works is that all of the license holders to DC get first dibs, so to speak, before it goes back to DC. So that's why you're seeing something like Gotham Selects from Diamond Select, from the Fox show, being made by Diamond and not DC Collectibles. And, as recently revealed in an interview with the design group The Four Horsemen, they are currently working on figures for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Now, whether or not that means the little rinky-dink multiverse figures or movie masters remains to be seen. But all one has to do is look at the title of the movie to see that this might not be something that's up Mattel's alley. Mattel has stated from the very beginning that us adult collectors are not their sole focus. That privilege, if you want to call it that, goes to the moms and the kids. That's been stated since day one as being their bread and butter. So us adult collectors, for as much as we spend for as big of a company as they are, sadly, we really do take up a small percentage of their actual numbers. And with knowing that, parental focus groups are probably not going to be on board with a toy line called the Suicide Squad, with character names like Deadshot and Harley Quinn running around with her little booty shorts. They're not going to want to see that on Toys R Us shelves. And hey, if they can get Breaking Bad figures pulled from the shelves, then surely, thanks a lot, Florida Mom. Sure, they can name it Task Force X or The Squad, but what would be the point? The name is the brand. The name is what is recognizable. They're the Suicide Squad. The movie is going to be called The Suicide Squad, and that is the name movie presence from which it would have to sell itself. So, without that name, what's the point? So where does that leave us? For other, some might argue better, companies to make them. That's right, better. I said it. But here's where the bigger question comes into play. What about the rest of the DC Cinematic Universe? This is meant to be a shared universe from here on out, so Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman are supposed to come from the same universe. In fact, I warned you. Ben Affleck was recently spotted on the Toronto set of Suicide Squad in both Bruce Wayne and, giving you some time here, Batman gear.
Yeah, sorry, Ben, you're not fooling anyone, buddy.
Now, for as great as the Movie Masters figures are, and I really do mean that, if that is indeed what we are getting for Batman v Superman, they're nowhere near on the level of a DC Collectibles or a Diamond Select. They are mass-market figures from a mass-market line, from a mass-market company, and they appear as such. So won't it be a bit frustrating to fans and collectors to have this shared universe, but with a dip in quality between toy lines? Imagine if DC Collectibles were to make the Suicide Squad figures in their signature hyper-detailed style, and Mattel make Batman v Superman in their mass-market style, or vice versa, and then trying to mesh those two lines together would be a glaringly opposed line. So this opens us up to what happens. Does Mattel do their own thing with Multiverse and DC Collectibles do theirs? Do we get figures from one company and not the other? Do we get two separate toy lines from two separate companies? I don't know. But what I do know is that we are 2 months away from San Diego Comic-Con, and I think that we are in for quite the con. Now, as far as to who I personally want, I just go by track records. Who's left me the least disappointed? Who have I been the most pleased with? That title holder for the past 4 years has belonged to DC Collectibles. Great sculpts, great paints, and above all else, roster completion. With Mattel, we might get a Joker, Deadshot, Harley, maybe a Killer Croc, but DC Collectibles has shown that they are not afraid to go deep into a roster. Look at the Arkham line. Who'd have ever thought that we'd get a Felicity Smoke figure in the Arrow line? Or that we'd get a giant animated Batmobile. So I'm personally keeping my fingers crossed for them. I mean, just for comparison's sake, let's just take a look at the DC Collectibles Deathstroke Arrow figure that was released a few months ago, and then let's take a look at the Green Lantern Kilowog Movies Masters figure that was released a few years back. Here we have a highly detailed, highly articulated, heavy piece of toy. Here we have a fairly smooth sculpted, moderately articulated, hollow piece of plastic. Accessories out the wazoo, including 2 different knives, a gun, and a sword. Nothing. Not even a lantern. Readily available at all online retailers for $24.97, but I picked up for a cool $16.97 at DCBService.com. A San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that cost me $40 plus Matty Collector's ridiculous shipping costs. Now I know what you're thinking, Rick, that's not fair. You can't compare a figure that just recently came out to a figure that came out a couple years before it, and you're right. Here's the most recent Movie Masters from the Man of Steel movie that came out in 2013. And here's DCC's former self, DC Direct's Night Owl 2 figure from the Watchmen movie line from 2009. See the difference? Now, I may be a little biased, but I know who I want making my movie figures, especially when everything is looking so amazing and promising. Alright guys, that's enough from me. Let's hear from you. What did you think of the pictures from the movie? Who do you want to see make the toys? What do you want to see in the toy lines? Let me know in the comment sections below. Please hit that subscribe button, and I will have new content uploaded every Thursday. You guys have a wonderful day. I'm going to get outside. It's hot than a mug in this room. Peace. It is hot in this bitch.